that guy that you're with there on that intro there? You look the same down there in the corner, but whoever that guy is with you, he keeps popping up all over the place. But
Well, you know something? I'm always with him, and it's you, and you're exactly the same. You look the same. Your hair just changes in your beard. It's long. You cut it off.
yeah,
It just changes.
yeah. I'm gonna put together a montage of
Morphing.
the different times, and of course it can't be if it were, well, I could put it in chronological order, but then you'd see it long, you'd see it short, you'd see it in between, you'd see it all kinds of stuff, because I've gone back and forth, whereas Sandy, you just never change.
That's not true. I did cut my hair off once, and the youth and adults told me never to do it again.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And well, okay, that says once as since my 30s. And
Uh-huh.
so I cut it off, and no, it was actually, no, it was in there. And I did also have lost most of my hair at 14 because of all the meds I was taking.
Oh,
So
that's
it was really
right.
short then too. And
Uh-huh.
and so since then I just keep it long. When you have adults tell you, man, Sandy, you just look much better with long hair, and you have youth tell you, oh, don't ever cut your hair off again. It's sort of just, I'll just keep it. And then I have a mom, she hasn't said it in a long time, but she used to tell me, when you're 30, you should cut all your hair off.
Uh,
And she's
so
right with
so
me right
that's in a
now.
couple of years you'll be cutting all your hair
No,
off.
double that. But nonetheless, it is what it is. So
Well, see, that's what just baffles me, because I never really considered you a person that that is so infatuated, almost obsessed with what other people think of you. So if you're going to let everybody tell you that, oh, Sandy, you look better this way, you
my
look
husband
better,
said it too.
yeah,
That's sort of
well,
the kicker right there. I
so
do.
yeah, so
His
I know.
opinion matters to me. So
Yeah, yep. You just care about what other people think.
I care about,
That's how you
hey,
govern your life. You
we
know.
had this discussion on Reason recently. My husband dictates what color my hair should be, because I used to do it a different color every time I went to the salon. And I loved red. I love red. In fact, you have pictures. I'm auburn. I'm all this. And John put his foot down one day and said, "Stop it.
Yeah,
I married a
yeah,
blonde. I want you blonde.
yeah.
Stay that way."
I've heard that story before.
You
Yeah.
have. And so my husband has big play on my hair. So that's a weird topic. That is a weird, weird,
It
silly
is.
topic. So
It is. I mean, but it is interesting. There you go. There's a topic for you. It's interesting. The things that we won't do, no matter who tells us what they think we ought to do, and things we do because we want to please others. And,
that is a good topic.
there you
But for
go.
me, I will, if my husband and I disagree on something, whether it's spiritual or something silly like hair, I will always give my opinion, and I
Mhm,
won't, and I'll, if I have to, I'll do it forcefully, but I will always do what
mhm,
he tells me to do. So,
mhm, mhm.
but I will not, if I disagree with it, I will give my opinion before I do what he says. Okay, I'm going to do this, but I think this is wrong. And then I will do what he says. So, but, the word never says you can't give your opinion to your husband. So,
Well, that's true, and we influence each other because but we do. When it comes down to spouses, that to me, those are two completely different categories. I mean, pleasing people outside of your family and pleasing people in your family are two different categories. I think I really do. I mean, there's some people that are going to do what anybody else says because they have no self worth. You and I have self worth on both sides, no matter what. But go ahead, you're nipping at the bud.
Well, I just know I'm not necessarily wanting to please people. I mean, I'll still do what I think is right, but one thing that I do have issue with, and it tears me up, I'm saying that's not a good thing, by the way, is that when people leave my life, I've talked to you about it before, it tears me up, especially people that have been in our congregation. That I know that it shouldn't matter. People, come and go, they do their own thing for whatever reason, but it does rip me up.
uh-huh,
And you know that we've talked
uh-huh,
about it a lot. So,
uh-huh.
and so in that place, I always want to know why.
Mhm,
Why do you feel this way? Why,
mhm,
because if somebody's leaving my life, I would love to have a send off, pray
mhm,
over you, send you out, or if it's congregationally, if it's otherwise, give you a hug and let's cry together and then let's part ways. But
mhm,
I don't like the unknown whys, etc.
mhm.
That can mess with me. So
Well, in my response to that is that you and I had a pretty close, almost knockdown, drag out fight one time because I told you to, if you all these problems, then just get out of there.
see, I didn't see it as a fight. I don't see that as that.
I know,
I
I
still didn't.
know,
We talked about that. I didn't see it that way.
I know, but it's no, it was okay. An extreme major disagreement is, let's put it this way. I mean, of course, I exaggerate, but anyway, that's what I say. Just get out of there, Sandy. Just go.
Yeah,
Just
you're right. You're
yeah.
right. Just quit hanging around people. Just do your own thing. Yeah.
Well, look at me. I did. I really didn't have that problem, and now I am around no one, literally no one. So, anyway, uh, but we yeah, I don't know. I don't think about it much because I don't really care that much about pleasing other people and that type of thing with me personally. But then again, like I say, my wife is really the only person I'm around. Period. I mean, I don't have a lot of contact with other people, so I don't really have to please anybody or even try to look good and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and it's different between men and women.
The person I have the most contact with in my life is Amariah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she
that's it.
it's suited to be a Laura as well. But uh,
Mhm.
that's the person I have in most contact with, and that pretty, but John, no, our time is very limited, and others is congregationally, and then I'll see my mom. But the person that I'm in touch with the most in my life is my grandchild. So
Yeah, and so do you try to please her?
I'm trying to get her to just, you know how kids react after a baby's born. She loves her baby sister, but I have seen just a little behavioral tweak that needs to be done. And
Mhm.
I love this. I'm going to tell an Amariah story.
Okay.
Yesterday we were schooling, and I'm really trying to make sure that if there's any defiance or anything, even for a moment, that I grab it and it's taken care of immediately.
Uh-huh.
And then she did something, and she went to timeout. She didn't, and it was better. We prayed, etc. And then it happened again, and I didn't want to do. It's like I have to do this again, and I went and put her there again. And afterwards, I let her stay there a while, and she just started talking to me, and we had this big heart to heart. And she's like, I just don't. You remember, she's 6 now and a couple months, but I don't hear God, Sonny. I've been listening and I don't hear him. He doesn't talk to me. And she was tearful, and we just talked about the Lord, and
Mhm.
she had a big question. Just where did I? She said, I don't belong. And so we just took, and I had a sort of a big grown up conversation with her, but in a 6-year-old way. And my goodness, it affected her so much. And it went on for a while. And after she did school and after we rode bikes, she wanted to play that conversation with the stuffed animals.
Uh,
And it's just finding your place. You have
mhm,
a new sister in your home,
mhm.
and she's just trying to figure it all out. But what I loved is that she got all her she loves to play stuffed animals. She calls them kids. I want to play kids. And so she says, Sonny, nobody else knows how to do it but you and Sparky. So so we got the stuffed animals out, and I was like, we were playing kids, and she said, Sonny, can you talk to them the way you talked to me today? They need to know. And so I was like, Mariah, I don't know everything I said. Okay, we'll try. And she had them disobey, and then I had to start.
Oh, she had him disobey.
Yeah, she did. And then she says, no, I'm going to be the mom now, and I'm going to tell what you said. And then she proceeded to do that, and she led her stuffed animals to the Lord. And it was just,
Wow.
I tell you, the person I'm in contact with most is my
I
grandchild.
love it.
And,
It's fascinating to watch their minds develop.
uh-huh.
Just
But when she
fascinating.
said that big grown-up statement, "I don't belong anywhere," that just hit me in the gut. And because I told her, I said, "We need to figure out what the root, where's the feeling coming from?"
Yeah.
And it just turned everything around, ministering to my own grandchild. So in a
Wow,
way that she gets it.
fascinating.
And it is impactful when she has to do it right back to her stuffed animals. So
Uh-huh.
anyway,
Wow.
but yeah, the her I wouldn't say her opinion matters, but her view of thing matters. Her opinion matters, yes. Is it going to change the way Sonny acts? Well, if something needs changed in me, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
If
Uh-huh.
she says something, because out of the mouth of
Uh-huh.
kids it can be
Uh-huh.
truth. If she says something to me, maybe we need to be self-reflective when our kids say things and
Uh-huh.
make sure that
I'm sure.
because they're family, they're close. They're like
Mhm.
you said, close people, family like that. It's different than everybody outside. So
Yeah.
going back to that opinion thing, whose opinion matters? Her opinion matters, and I will always do a self-examination if she says something to me. So, yep.
Well, it's fascinating that, and I wish I could more, but you're watching her development and
I'm
getting to
blessed.
see that is it's a huge issue for an adult to be able to almost re-evaluate the process of learning in a child and that type of thing. Of course, I'm just not around my grandkids hardly ever at all, and so all I do is get to hear the stories of different things and watch different things. Like last week, we talked about I actually get to watch my oldest grandson's baseball games live on our television. Whenever he plays, we can
Yeah,
hook up and we can watch that. My daughter has lost two babies,
I know.
and this last one, when they had to come back and tell the boys, the youngest one's immediate response was, "Well, I guess the Lord just wants you to have us too."
Wow. What do you say to that?
Well, to me, it's a very balanced, good
Very
look at it. I mean, he goes right to the what the Lord wants, right to
good. That
what
is
the
it.
Lord
And and see, that's really great that he doesn't say, oh, he looks at it, God's the one that's in charge.
wants.
That's cool.
Uh-huh. Yep. So that's precious. Once again, I don't get to see a whole lot of that stuff, but
It's
I
still
get
a
the
great story.
highlights, and the highlights are usually pretty awesome. So yeah, anyway,
I'm so blessed to be a part of my granddaughter's life. It's a
yeah,
lot of work and it takes sacrifice, but it's worth that.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep, good. We were talking about pleasing other people. And it's interesting because my wife and I just lead two completely different worlds, and yet we're right in enmeshed in each other's world, you know. And when it comes down to like her hair or whatever, you know, she's going to get it cut and she's going to do whatever style. She doesn't ask me, and I'm always fine with it no matter what. With me, it's kind of like if I change anything, she'll go, "Oh, honey, that looks so good." You know,
Aw.
that's good there. You know, no matter what. And so it's kind of just always been that way. We don't try to make each other be a different way or whatever like that. And so,
Okay. You said that when your wife told you it looks so good. That's great. John, a few weeks, it's been 4 or 5 weeks ago now. His razor went out and he messed up his beard, and he came out. I didn't see him.
ah,
I didn't see him. In fact, because you know how he works. He worked overnight. So it had been a day or two since I'd seen him, and he walks in the door in the morning, and Amariah's with me, and I wasn't really even looking, and she said, "Ooh, Sparky, what's wrong with your beard?" And I looked up and I went, "I hate that." And he said, "Well, it wasn't working and it caught and it went really low. So I had to pretty much trim it all to almost nothing." I was like, "I don't like that." I
uh,
said exactly the opposite. And then I say, "I like the way you look with your beard normally." So,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
but yeah, even Amariah was like, "Oh, Sparky, what did you do with your beard?"
That's good. That's good.
So,
Yeah. See, I vividly remember back at a time when I
yeah.
gave John all kinds of slack about, you know, growing a beard because he just didn't have a beard forever.
You know
And
why?
because
Because
you
the
told
last
him
time
not
he
to.
grew it out, he didn't do anything with it, and his
Uh,
beard grows like this.
okay. So he
So
didn't
his
trim
beard
it
is
up.
out here like this,
Oh,
and he looks 20 to
uh-huh.
30 years older than me at the time with
I
this
see.
beard.
I see.
And so then he went the opposite, and he cut it all off for a couple years and stayed shaven, even though his son had a beard. And,
Uh,
and then he put it back on, which is good. And this time he trimmed it down a little bit so it wasn't this big.
uh-huh. Yeah. I remember
Yeah,
very
yeah.
vividly that he didn't. That'd be interesting. I can't even picture John with a great big full beard at
I'll
all.
send you a picture. It's just
Mhm.
he didn't trim. He trimmed it this way, but he didn't trim it this way. So it was just this big white thing.
Oh, that's good. I love it. Yeah. You remember it wasn't all that long ago. I cut 28 inches off the back of my hair and 18 inches off my beard.
I
And
actually think about that a lot. You have no idea. I think about when I see a change in you, I think, wow, he cut all that off. And then, I think about
uh,
that. So
uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, it's kind of at a length that I kind of like it now. I like this, and so I fight real hard to make sure it's not like a mullet or something like that. You know, I don't want that going there, but
Mullets are back.
oh, whatever. Whatever. I
I've seen high
no
school
way.
kids and young
They,
kids, they're wearing mullets.
they were never in, Sandy. They always look stupid, no matter what. But,
Mm.
boy, I'm sorry to hear that. We watch a show called We Are Family, and one of the contestants in it has got a mullet, and every time I see him, it's just cringe, dude. Why would you do that? I mean, why would you? There's other ways to go there, but why would you do that? But yeah, about you cutting your hair off, I think really there only certain faces really can do short hair in women. I think And I think about that quite often too. 100 years ago, Sandy, 100 years ago, men's hair, on average, was at least my length. On average, most men
I didn't know
had
that.
up until the turn of the century, the majority of men, and if you look at pictures from back in that time, or drawings or paintings of men and stuff, you'll see every single one of them have hair at least as long as mine.
Huh.
And I know people don't notice that because you're so used to the present day and everything. But when, like a man today is they normally want the hair all to be short and everything, and not really long. And so it makes a difference to me because I like my hair long. I like that look. I'm not going after a hippie look or anything like that. I just like my hair, and I like it short, so there you go. But still, so it's noticeable to me when I
I like John's a little longer, but he doesn't.
yeah,
I lose.
yeah.
I
Well,
lose on that.
I you what?
I lose on that one because I like it
You
longer, and he keeps cutting it off.
yeah.
Not longer, but just longer, just a
Uh-huh.
little longer,
Uh-huh.
and he
Yeah.
keeps cutting it off.
I don't know. I don't know. I just can't picture John any different than what he is. So anyway, I think that would be good.
I told you he used to do Farrah Fawcett look when he was
Uh,
young.
what? Who did?
He had the Farrah Fawcett cut when he was young.
Gosh, I need pictures.
I have
I
pictures.
need
If it was
pictures of
like the
this.
old one, I could post it. Remember how the old system we had, we could post a picture or something? I could
Uh-huh.
do that, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
No, I need to see these pictures now. All of the beard and all that. Oh my gosh. What are we talking, like in his 20s or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Well, of course I was in the Navy. When you go in the Navy, when you go in and you're getting ready to go in boot camp, and of course everybody has to get their hair cut no matter what. Are you going into boot camp? And they sit you in the chair and the barber asks you, would you like it long or short?
I always thought they cut everybody's hair off.
No, they do, but they ask, do you want it long or
Oh,
short? So if you say, I don't want it short, yeah, I want it long. It's about as close to bald as you can possibly get if you say you want it long. If you say you want it short, they cut it, a quarter inch or a little bit longer and make it look good. But if
what
you
did you
tell them
say?
you want it long, it's gone. And it's just like the big buzzers,
So
and
what
all.
did you say?
I knew,
Oh, you knew.
I knew. We had been told, don't tell them you want your hair long. Don't tell. And so I told them short, and I got a regular style. So,
Well,
and
that's
they did.
good.
Well, the place I was, but I was told they asked that. And anyway, so in the Navy, that literally, as soon as I got out of the Navy, I did not cut my hair for like a year and a half.
I
Of
believe
course,
that.
that's back in my 20s. And you saw my hair really long before I cut it off. That time was about the same length, but it took me a lot less time to grow it that long. Of course, then I had to get a job. So,
Joe wants to know what boot camp you went to.
what?
Joe
What?
wants to know what boot
San
camp.
Diego. San Diego boot camp. Yep. Yep.
Cool.
That's where I met Cameron Crowe, big movie producer.
Cameron Crowe.
Yeah,
Wow.
Cameron Crowe's big movie producer. He's done a lot of movies, and when I was in boot camp, I made good friends with this guy in boot camp. He and I buddied around, and about 2 weeks before you actually get out of boot camp, you get like a weekend pass, because all the other time you don't get out. You're in boot camp, you're there 24/7, all the time. But the 2 weeks before you get out, you get a weekend pass to just go out. Well, I was in San Diego. I'd never been in San Diego before, but my friend was from San Diego, my friend in boot camp. So when we got out, I got to go run around with him and meet all his buddies and have fun and everything. And somebody he knew was a guy named Cameron Crowe. And of course, he was our age, which was in the very early 20s, like 2021. And of course, he was into writing scripts and all kinds of stuff like that, but he wasn't famous at that time. And then a few years later, the same guy I met, started producing movies and stuff and became a pretty big movie producer. But
Wow.
My 10 minutes of fame.
Brush with fame.
Brush with fame. That's what it was.
I don't know. Aren't you famous now?
Famous? Yeah, I'm pretty famous right now. They just interviewed me yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Everybody I know in our circles knows your name.
Knows my name.
Knows your name.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Is that a good look?
It is actually. Yeah,
no, I'm not famous. I'm famous to people that know me. Profound revelation there, right?
I still think that in the Hebrew roots Messianic movement, you're pretty well known. So
is that? Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I have nothing. I'm just.
Well, I just say. So, is that the only reason you do this show with me, or have done so many shows because I'm famous and you want to sit next to the famous guy?
Actually, I hadn't thought about that till now, but yeah, we can say that.
But we can't say it if it's not true. My gosh, then we have to go repent and go through all the process of being sprinkled and all of that.
Oh my!
Every time you lie, don't you have to go get down on your knees and pray the Lord to forgive you and repent and then go to church and have them sprinkle on you and everything? You don't do that every time you lie?
I hope I've tried to not lie.
I was waiting for that response. Oh, that leads me to this. This is so good. I had a doctor's appointment on April 1st. And when I go to the doctor's, I have my radio stations I like to listen to. And because I have to go 40 miles into Wilmington to go to the VA doctor. And I'm listening to radio station. It was April 1st. And this disc jockey came on and says, I really like April 1st, but I just can't wait until tomorrow when I can get back to the place where everybody tells the truth. Get it? April 1st is when everybody plays jokes on everybody, and everybody tries to play the jokes. And he was being facetious by saying, "I want to get back to the days where everybody tells the truth."
Oh, so he was being okay. Yeah, right.
You didn't catch me. I was.
If we go there, since you went there, there's a survey that says always being honest is essential to being a Christian. But get this, essential to being Christian is being honest. But 63% of those say they didn't tell a lie in the last week. 37% of those that said they are a Christian and it's essential have told lies in the last week.
Yeah.
So, and then you get to, if you ask the non-Christian person, of those that they 41% said they did not tell a lie in the last week, and 59% said, "Yeah, sure, I lied. I lied." So here we have, supposedly, we have a 20% difference between the Christian and the non-Christian, and a 20% difference in the of those that have told lies. But my opinion still is most everybody then is just telling a lie. Because the question didn't ask, when was the
I
last
love it.
time you told a lie? It says, have you just not done one in the last week?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I hear people all the time, well, I needed to lie. I need to lie about this. I need to lie about that. I need to. And
I love it.
so, how honest are we actually to one another or to people in general? Even if we claim to be believers in Yeshua or in Jesus or anything else, or just the regular Joe out there, how honest are people in their day to day lives? Do they tell lies over things that don't even matter? Do they stretch the truth? Do they
So
exaggerate on their stories, their big whale stories? Because the bottom line, it's all lies. But
so
why do we as a society think that lying is such an essential part of our day to day?
mm, mm. I know a Joe and she's
Discussion
not
topic
regular.
here, Mark. What?
What? What'd you say?
I'm trying to create a discussion topic here because you started.
Oh, I know. I'm already there. I'm already there. I'm going, and it's so interesting that it just it's so natural. It's like natural that they even just talk about that nonchalantly. It literally boils down to the lifestyle that you lead.
But does it?
That lead the lifestyle that leads your life.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Because in reality, then, to me, it sounds like most people's lifestyles that they lead really don't have the moral compass where lying is that big of a deal.
No, no. I agree, and I think gosh, I want to say outside of living for the Lord, then it's just it's survival. It's if survival means that I have to say this or exaggerate this or mislead somebody so that I can get on to the next step in my life or whatever, then it's no big deal. And here's another thing, and I'm God, it's just my brain wants to go. Well, sure, sounds like you got a lot of experience at this, Mark. But you know, uh, it, you know, it is true that some people have told a lie so many
They
times
believe it.
they start believing it themselves. And once again, these are things that people build, in their lives to the point where they don't ever get caught at it. So it's easier every time they do it. It's easier and easier. You get to the point where you just say things because you're pleasing what we were just talking about before. We want to please the other person. We know what they want to hear. So we give them what they want to hear, whether there's repercussions from it or not. It just what it is. I think it's an acclamation to that lifestyle where we see in our lives, Sandy, we have the teachings and the instructions, and literally it boils down to laws to us. It's the way we live our life. Here you go. You want to know how to live it? Here you go. And the people that don't have this as a dominant entity in their lives, they have nothing. They have no rules and regulations. It's just whatever I've learned and everything I've done in my life. Those are the laws and the rules and regulations of life. The difference between them and us is that we want boundaries. We want those limitations. We want those things in our life to help us to get by every day.
So, if that's the case, then why do and I'm meaning we as a people, not we as individuals, Why do we so easily fall back into lying ourselves? Because I can tell you, as a pastor, I've had people right out lie to my face, and I know it. And they're in,
They're
they
pleasing.
in our congregation and other congregations, whatever. And I know they're lying. I
They're
know it.
pleasing you. They think
Maybe,
they know what you want, and they're going to make sure. I don't know. You're
but
thinking of
sometimes it's in my
different.
correctional role
Yeah.
too, and I know that this happened, and I'll say, "Hey, man," and I'll do it in a roundabout way. And of course, then you have the motivation of not wanting to get in trouble. But then how does that differentiate you from the world?
Do you confront them? You say you know they're lying to
No,
your face.
sometimes there are certain people I would confront and others that I will just let it sit.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And that's
And you want to know why? Because my experience as a pastor is if you're a young adult or you're a youth or you're a kid, you will receive correction. But if you're in a grown up, I don't care if I call you, if you're my pastor, you better not tell me
uh-huh.
what is right and what's
Uh-huh.
wrong in my own life. Because if,
Uh-huh.
in fact, I've had somebody tell me before, if you ever correct me, I'm leaving the church. And then and the point is that a pastor does bring correction just as they bring other things, just like a shepherd. What does a shepherd do? And so then my thing is, well, then you need to find a place where you will receive correction, because you're really cutting off my legs as a pastor to be able to, to pastor you. If you say, you can tell me what I want to hear, but if you tell me anything I don't want to hear, I'm out of here.
Daryl has a cup that says, "Be careful what you say to me. You might end up in my sermon."
I love that. That's
I love
great.
it. I love it. I love it. So, in other words, there's a whole other alternative deal. So, if somebody lies to you, you don't confront them. You don't tell them. But the next time you have a sermon, it's all over whatever they lied about. I
Exactly.
love it.
If there if
Daryl's got some great sayings. I just love him to
I
death.
love that too. That's a great saying. I need
Mm,
to use that sometime.
yeah.
But I will say this, for those that I know that will receive correction, if I need to, I will do it there. And
Uh-huh.
still sometimes it falls on deaf ears. But when it comes to this lying thing, is that people are, it just comes so easily, and
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't even need to be done. And yeah, you said it's people pleasing. It's like telling the big fish story. Or I've even know people, and the story they tell gets bigger every time they tell it, and bigger and bigger. But if we really boil it down to the root, there's not evil intent, except get excited in the moment. And the more you tell it, like you said, the bigger it gets, the more you believe what you said. And
You
but
acclimate.
yeah,
Becomes
yeah.
easier. Becomes easier, and I'm not going to get caught. And if I do get caught, then I'll make up. Oh, have you ever heard of sin begets sin begets sin?
Sin, it's yeah. But
And
then
that is lying. Is
okay, but here's the
builds
next thing.
upon
Let's
build.
go to the counterfeit menorah, the false light. The seventh branch of that is that you become the liar. That means all these things, running from uh, all these things that you've done up to this point, by the time you get to the seventh branch, I need to pull that up real quick. You have become the liar, where that's really just who you are. How sad is that?
Huh. Interesting.
You
Yeah.
split
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
cause one of the, I think number 6 is that you cause you bring division amongst brothers, and then you become the liar.
Ah, interesting.
So
Yeah. 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 Well.
do we want to become so callous? I think, we have this tendency to measure sin. Oh, this is a big one. This isn't a big one. Sin is sin. But when we begin to measure out, well, this one, then we rationalize why this one, to sin like this, is okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
This one over here matters. This one doesn't matter so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's scriptural. It's not scriptural. Sin is sin. Sin brings separation. Sin will cause you to be unclean. Sin opens the door for the enemy to have play at your life, and also for demonic strongholds to come in, uh, and as well as curses and other things. Sin is sin, and yet I think we measure out sin, trying ourselves to weigh what's okay and not okay when Scripture is very clear. But yet we become the connoisseur and the judge of what is sin and what's not sin,
That's right. That's
acceptable
right.
and not acceptable.
That's right.
So it
It,
may seem like a silly top. Wow, 37% of Christians said they lied this week, and 59% of those that weren't. But who cares? But is it really that tiny of a thing, or does it show? Is it a symptom? It's symptomatic of something deeper within our lives and our hearts, that we do not have that yirah, that YIRAH, that fear of God. Because if we had that holy reverential fear, I don't think that, I think we would be watching, and we would, if we did lie, we would immediately feel conviction and take it to the altar and repent to Shuva before him. But again, we can become so callous that we don't. But that means if we're the ones that are judging what's sin and what's not sin, this one's acceptable, then that really means, if you boil it down, that we are the ones on the throne, not Yah. We've created a Yeshua or a Jesus in the image we want them to be, but yet we still sit. We are the ones that sit on that throne. Jump in there, Mark. Those are some.
well, no, I'm letting you speak, and I'm taking my notes here. What I mean, it seems to me like there are people that, you know, our scriptures say, pray continuously, or there's a couple of different versions of that. But to me, what that means is that you, every minute of your waking hours, you're aware that the Lord is around you and you live accordingly. It's not a watching over to make sure that you don't sin or that you don't lie or whatever. It's not that way. It's just that I look at it more as the comforter in my life, helping me to steer my way through all the crap in the world. You know, and I like that the comforter is there with me all the time. But I don't think most people think that way, Sandy. I think that the Lord is with them when they want the Lord with them. The Lord is not with them when they don't want the Lord with them. You know, in other words, when I'm praying, hey, come on, Lord, I'm going to pray now. Okay. And then when you getting ready for church in the morning, you're getting ready to go to church, and well, Lord, come on, let's go to church. And you know, the church and the Lord's around. But the rest of the time, it's like, I'll see you later, Lord. And so, if the Lord is not watching over me, or if the angels are not watching over me, or the Comforter is not helping me all the time, then I can maneuver my own way through the world. And if I have to lie to get through this, it's not really a lie. It may be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's going to help me transition from this place to another place. And if I tell the truth about it or anything at all, then it won't be as easy a transition into this part of wherever I'm going. And that's another thing too, is I mean, it's like, of course, Sandy, you and I know this is Christianity 101, is that Satan is always going to mix truth with lies. Always. That's
Always. There's always going to
Christianity
be a
101.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, it's like we all know that, but yet we don't live that way. We don't live with that understanding. So when we come across situations that we have to make a decision of, are we going to lie to get through this, or are we just going to tell the truth? And most of the time, I have found that I just need to keep my mouth shut. Don't say anything at all. I think that's one of the biggest problems in our American people is people just talk too stinking much.
Amen.
It's like that we should go back to 2020 and all the essentials are only essentials of what you need to say. I mean, that's it. And I mean, wow. I had years and years and years ago, I thought, what kind of a world would this be if through our entire lives we only got to speak 100,000 words? That's it. That's all you get. Once you reach 100,000 words, your voice box is gone. Now, what would we say?
Wow.
Get it? Yeah, that's a wow thing. And I thought of that years ago because
I couldn't say wow, that's for sure. Those would be wasted words.
Years ago, I got tired of people talking too much. It's like, you sit and listen to somebody. It's like, this doesn't have anything to do with anything, and it's like, boy, I wish you only had 10 words to say in your time. Anyway, I'm with you. Go ahead. You want to?
I was just going to write. Al said that Pastor Susan said that people talk, and she said sometimes they just need to shut up and talk about nothing. I always say, this is one of the things I say: fast your opinion.
That's your opinion. Yeah.
Fast it. That means hold it. Say nothing. Just like you're fasting food. Fast your opinion. And see, a lot of this, I went ahead and pulled up the wicked lamp, and it here with the spirit of wisdom goes on the wicked lamp is haughty eyes, and then with the spirit of understanding, it's a lying tongue. Okay, so we see that on day 2, and then the spirit of counsel goes with hands that shed innocent blood. And you may say, well, that murder, you can murder with your mouth.
That's right. That's
number the center is the heart that devises wicked plans. Again, here you have your thinking and you're contemplating and you're ultimately going to lie and do. And the 5th one with power is feet that run, they quickly run to evil. And then the 6th one is a false witness uttering lies. And you may say, what's the difference between a lying tongue and number 6, where there's a false witness, is you've lied so much that you have become that liar. And then finally, because of all those have culminated in the one who separates brothers. And ultimately, if you look at those, all of those really, when you boil it down, yeah, you have haughty eyes, but with the lying tongue, the innocent blood, the heart that devises wicked plan, all of those are ultimately going to result in sins of the mouth. And lying, with lying being on this wicked lamp twice, what you lie a lot, now you've become the liar. That to me is very significant. And here's what the lesson it tells me is that it is easy to fall into that pattern. In fact, it can be a spiritual issue. It can even be something that a demonic thing that needs to be broken off your life. But if we are truly going to be a set apart people, then our stats as the Hebrew roots Messianic community, not that there's been a poll taken, but it should be much different. We shouldn't see those things that seem that, oh, that's not that important, or that's just a little sin. We have got to be so set apart and realize what it does, because it offends Yah. Because ultimately that 7th side goes with the Yirah, the spirit of reverence that goes with fearing God. Because I don't think we as a people, and that especially means our community, we do not walk with the reverential fear that we should. Because if we did, We would respect others.
Yeah.
When there's preaching and teaching and gatherings together, we wouldn't be holding our own agenda, playing on our phones,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
having another conversation, doing it. There's no fear left in y'all's people. Going to the back, doing our own thing. If y'all's word is spoken, if we're worshiping, and you've talked about this before too, we would have such a fear of Yah that we would realize, hey, his presence is here. He is here. Would you really do that? Instead, we ask for the glory, and we want the glory.
Yeah.
It says that he's
Really.
enveloped in our praises. We want to see that. But with the glory also comes quick, um, quick correction that sometimes results in death, because you better have a fear of Yah. And if you want to see his glory, you better have a fear of Yah, and you better make your life right. Otherwise, you could be Ananias, Sapphira, you could be Nadab and Abihu. You could be these people that lied. Let's look at Ananias and Sapphira. Their sin was really lying about what they did. It wasn't because they didn't give the whole thing. It's because they said they gave it. They gave this whole amount of this property because, oh, so and so gave this property, and they got such, they praised them. They attaboy. We want to have the attaboys too. So let's go ahead and sell this property, and we'll hold a little back, but say we gave it all. That's where they messed up. Was there anything wrong if they would have said, hey, we sold this, here's a little bit of it, of the profit? That would have been fine. But they lied. They lied, and God, Yah's glory was great at that time. So immediately there were consequences. And we forget because we don't see the consequences of our sin immediately. It was just a little sin. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And we
That's
don't see the consequences immediately. So we think we play it off, even in our own community, as that one doesn't really matter. I know
we got away with it.
We got away with it. Another thing, I always think, our lives are the example. People are constantly watching. And I have this tendency, people in our community does something. When I'm saying our community, I'm talking about the Hebrew Roots Messianic whole thing. I'm around the community here, and I see mouths that I would never see in the Christian community. I would never be around Christian people, especially in gatherings where they cuss.
Uh-huh.
And I'm shocked at what kind of, because it's a bad witness. Okay, maybe that the other week, we're not going to scrape and pick apart that. But what kind of witness is that? So we lie and we cuss. We have no fear of God. Okay, so who are we then?
The witness is that they're just like everybody else. That's the witness they're portraying. I know people like that. I know.
It blows me away when I just sitting there at Sukkot or even in our own congregation, and I hear blah blah blah. Now I can understand a slip here. That's okay. But when it's
I don't.
Okay,
I don't ever speak those words. Okay, how can you slip it?
I agree. But what I'm trying to say is, if somebody messes up, oops. But if somebody doesn't even oops it, and just keeps doing it.
Yeah, I get it.
And okay, I get it. But aren't we supposed to be a light to the world? That means the world is watching. And if we're lying, if we have no fear of Yah, that we'll just act like we do all the time, then where's that fear? And here's, you know what? If we truly fear Yah, yeah, we need to live like that accordingly every day. But on the divine appointments, when he's made a date with us, which is every Shabbat and every feast day, he's like, I have a date with you. When you go on a date, don't you just freshly dress up a little bit more? Or if not dress up, you groom up or something a little bit more, and watch your behavior a little bit more on a nice date than you would any other time. So how much more when we come together on our dates with Yah? And specifically, the most frequent one, it should be every day, the morning and the evening offerings, yes. But the one where we gather with everybody else is that Shabbat. And shouldn't it even be that much more that we say, oh, we have a date with the King? I'm sure going to be watching what I'm saying and doing and looking and everything else.
Protocol of the King.
The protocol. Oh, I love that. Protocol of the King.
I love
I love that.
Yeah, we've been talking about it too.
So to me, this lying thing that we started off, I started off no, how did it start? You said something and then I brought up the stats. I don't even remember what it was, but we started down this road. But to
We
me,
did it. Go ahead.
huh?
We did it last week too. Go ahead.
We started down this road, but yet to me, it is very spiritually significant. And it's not just spiritually significant, it's life significant
Uh-huh.
because it affects our witness and it affects who we are and it affects who we become. It affects the generations that are around us and the generations that are being raised up. It affects everything.
Mhm.
Imagine it's just a little sin, but it still dims the light.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a light that's veiled through darkness.
Mhm.
Well, I have no darkness in me. Well, we better not say that too quickly because I think we all have stuff God's dealing with us on. And sometimes that lying tongue, maybe it's not a part of you and not who you are anymore. But if you continue down that path, it doesn't really matter. That could become you. And ultimately, that leads to death. If not a physical, a spiritual death, it's going to lead to death of some sort. It's just
Could
you may
be.
not see it this moment.
Could be. Could lead to physical death.
It could,
Mhm.
absolutely.
To
So
me, to me, it all breaks down to lifestyle, and that lifestyle is the culture. To me, lifestyle equals culture. And if you're living in a lifestyle and you surround yourself with people that live a worldly lifestyle and don't have a relationship with the Lord, if that's the light you want to live for the Lord, you can't have a foot in both worlds. You can't you can't
agree.
live, or you can't be around people all the time and not be an influence. If you're living a lifestyle of living for the Lord, and you're around people that are living a worldly lifestyle and not living for the Lord, and you're not an influence to those people, then you're not really living a lifestyle serving the Lord. That's my opinion.
It's true.
Okay. That's my opinion. So if you're with people that are living that a worldly lifestyle, to to say a cuss word every once in a while is going to happen. And I can see it not only happening within the worldly people that you're around, but after a while, it's going to slip out into the people you're around that live the same lifestyle you do. I just can't see it any different. It's an acclamation. It's what you are. It's who you are. It's how you live. It's how you learn every day, and that is the transition. I mean, if you're coming from the world and you've decided to serve God, then then obviously you have to acclimate into that lifestyle, and there's some grace and mercy there. But once you claim I'm living for the Lord, that's a lifestyle. That's a culture. The world that you and I live in, Sandy, is a culture within itself. It's an ecosystem. Believe it or not, the whole thing is an ecosystem that you're a part of. And if you want to step out of that and step into the world and be a part of the world and the people of the world and everything, you I don't even have an answer for that at
Right.
all. I Anyway,
Well,
yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going
Go
to tell
ahead.
you.
And then I have a little example that
Okay,
I
go
want to
ahead.
give. No, go ahead.
I was just going to intervene with some of the things that the people are saying. I would tell my children when they
Oh,
speak the words that they should show the world that they are not whom you say you are. And then Joe said, drop of water can extinguish a flame and actions should speak louder than words and words can cause destruction.
Right.
So those are just some of the things that I'm looking at that I've
Okay.
said recently. I have more, but go ahead and give your
Well,
thing.
you know me, and I love my shows. I love my movies and everything. And I would assume that you're probably not versed enough to know that there is a huge new reality type show out there that's made it to the top of the charts, and it's been around for a couple of years now, and it's called The Traders. Have you ever heard of this or seen it or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, it started as a US show, and then it went to Australia, the Traders Australia, and now it's the Traders UK. It's been so big that different countries are now doing their own versions of it. And it's kind of like Survivor, but they don't live out and there's another show for you, is that you have to lie and deceive and manipulate to make it to the end of that show. The show is about lying and lying to your own alliance and lying to people. Well, this new show, The Traders, it's all in this big it's an old hotel mansion type thing. And here's the idea. You get 20 people, and at the beginning of the show, the host of the show, with everybody else blindfolded, the host of the show picks 3 people out of those 20 that nobody knows, and even the 3 people that they pick don't know, to be traitors. And everybody else are faithfuls. Okay. So the traitors, every night, they get to meet while everybody else is in their room. They get to meet and they get to murder somebody. So one of the faithfuls. So it's kind of like Survivor, where you meet at the tribal council and you kick somebody out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So but also every night all 20 people get to sit around the round table, and they banish one person, but it's the faithfuls trying to figure out who the traitors are. Okay, so they want to get the traitors out, because when it gets down to the end of the show, the only people that are left are the ones that win the like $250,000 that's up for grab to win. Well, the whole thing, and this is what's fascinating about this show, is because the most of the show, you get to watch them sit around together in different rooms and talk about who they think the traitors are. They have no idea in the world who they are, but the whole thing about them saying, well, I think this person is the traitor because they act like this. Well, what does a traitor act like? Is my question. And how do you know what a traitor acts like? You've never been a traitor. You're a faithful. You're not one of these people. Yeah, and those people all have their individual personalities and stuff too. They're going to act their own way, even though they're a traitor. And so the whole entire show is all about people lying to keep themselves, not being visible or not being known, so they won't get kicked out. But it's also these incredible, any other word but stupid people that are trying to analyze who the traitors are, yet they have no evidence. They don't know what these people are going to be. But see, that's fascinating to me, to watch the different people and their reasoning behind who they think is lying, who they think is telling the truth. The person sitting right next to them, who is their buddy, obviously is a faithful, but it's not. It's a traitor. It's somebody that can kill you that night.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying.
So that's the whole concept, and it's one of the biggest shows on television. Is watch people lie, manipulate, and get things wrong.
Okay. I want to use that and I want to go back.
Sure.
That is a reality show.
Right.
I would dare say on all reality shows, it's pretty much you've got to lie, manipulate in one form or
Yeah.
format or the other.
Yeah.
Some are it's more constant. But if it's a reality, it really speaks to it's the reality. It's also now we have permission and it's illegal to lie, cheat, and steal. But in reality show, it's really
That's
part of our daily life as well.
that's good. That is good.
So all that reality shows do
That's right.
it is make it acceptable what the behavior that's already going on in our lives. And we like to watch it. Here's the next thing. People love to watch the people lie and cheat and steal. See, we have this good and this evil mixed. And if we keep telling lies, we can realize and other things, break his word. We realize that there's potential for more than just lying. By the same token, when judgment comes, we see the four horsemen that are going to come out and they're released and the earth is signs that the Holy Spirit's going to divide the truth from the lie. Yah is going to reveal the truth from the lie. And if we have discernment, we already know that. But we've got to make sure that we are not part of that wicked lamp.
That's
And
right.
if we should have a reality show. God's people should never be able to do those kind of shows because their reality should be different than ours. Because are we not supposed to be not of this planet? I'm not of this world. Therefore, we should have our own reality show that people wouldn't watch because it doesn't have the drama. Well, it would. I'm sorry, our community does have drama, but it's not as seedy as the other drama.
I'm with you.
But we have become too intimate with evil. There you go. We have become too intimate with evil that it's become acceptable. And when I call evil, evil, of course, is not fulfilling your purpose. But let's go to the generic definition that what we think of. You're either playing on one you don't have a choice. There's no middle team. There's only two teams. It's Yah's team, Yehovah's team. Through Yeshua, it's Yeshua, or we're playing on Hasatan's team. You don't get to play on both teams. You get one. And our actions and our thought processes and our lifestyle determine what team we're playing on. We are not supposed to judge someone's salvation, but we are fruit judgers. If we are fruit judgers, first off, we better make sure our fruit is right. And when we realize there's rotten fruit coming from our tree, then we better go ahead and chop that thing off ourselves, because I would much rather chop it off myself than y'all have to send circumstances into my life where he does it, because that's a lot more painful.
There you go.
And so are we the mixture? Which team are we playing for? That's where we have to ask. Whose team are you truly playing for? And don't just say what you think needs to be said. Answer that question carefully, but do it by looking at your own life and how you react, how you act, and how you think. How do we think? So there you go.
No, I'm thinking. There you go. No, it's it's the world we live in. It is just I don't. It's so funny. I don't think most of us, even whether or not we're living a life for the Lord or anything, we even think of those things. I mean, it's just not something that comes across our table. I'm sure. Well, I mean, okay, Amariah, for instance, and I'm thinking about my daughter's grandkids and stuff too, or my daughter's kids.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
And little kids of that age are learning that difference too, and it's so vital that they recognize when they maybe they exaggerated a little bit. Maybe they saw something on the TV or something that was a little different than what we're trying to teach them, and they can't really decipher the difference of whether or not that's the way it's supposed to be, or is mom and dad right, or what the deal is. And I'm sure you probably run into situations with Amariah where uh, they almost test those boundaries. They test to see if, where they're at. It's not like they're purposely trying to be evil or anything. They just test those things. But I think, really, I'm talking about the kids, but I think adults do it every day. It kind of depends on where you're at and what your walk is. I don't, once again, I'm not around people enough to even have to test anything with anybody. But I think adults do it too, just to see how far they can get. And of course, you have so many different levels of society. You've got people that are executives, you've got people that are construction workers, and people that work in restaurants and all this type of thing. To be, I mean, to be us and having to live in a society where you're working around people that don't have the same belief system that you do, is has got to be, because I've been there. We've both been there, and I've worked at big companies where everybody's walking around proud of themselves and they're saying things, and you have to judge whether or not, well, are you telling me the truth? Are you exaggerating? Or whatever it is, but you just have to go with the flow. And at any point in time that you catch somebody actually not telling the truth, you have to weigh whether or not, because you have to be around these people all the time. And of course, it's a different dynamic than, you're being the head of a congregation where you have several different people. I mean, some of it mesh in about the same thing, but it's been so many years. It's been like 7 years since I've actually worked at a job where I had to be around people, but I was the boss. So if somebody came up to me, and there's a different dynamic. If you're the boss and somebody that works for you comes up and lies to you, you're not going to let it go. You're going to confront them on it. Well, I thought it was this way, or I thought it should have gone this way, and that type of thing. But every time it's done, now you get to weigh, where do you put that? And when you have to deal with this person again, the next time, how much of what just happened weighs into what you're hearing that person saying, so that whole dynamic of lying, exaggerating, telling stories, all that stuff. I mean, we see it in every generation. We see it in everything. Schools. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine trying to be a teacher in a public school and having to deal with what the kids would say in classes. That dynamic within itself has got to be massive. How do you weigh what those children are telling you, compared to what you know to be truth?
Yeah. We've talked about it before, or maybe it was on the next chapter that we talked about it, but I still, when my sister goes on break, I would love to have her on the show to discuss something like that,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
because she's in the
Uh-huh.
Miss Junior High. I mean, that's right in the
Uh-huh.
crook of it, because she talks about those dynamics so often, to hear her perspective. And
Uh-huh.
no, we actually talked about having Brenda. I remember now, it was on one of the planets we did, I think.
Yeah, we
But
did one
nonetheless,
time, long time ago. Yeah,
yeah,
long time.
I mean, she's about to be on summer break. I would love to have her on a show,
Yeah.
just to talk some of, some of these things where faith is. I mean, I've heard the miracles that she's told too about things that she's been able to share and it opened up, just even by wearing her zeet and that's
Yeah.
cool too.
Yeah.
But then she has the other side too, that she's battling. I mean, when you're a teacher like that, you're in the you're in the midst of sort of hell at times, so to speak. And
I
yet
get
you're
it.
the one thing that you can be that beacon of light, but you're limited on how you can share that light. But then sometimes not. So I would just love to have her on to talk about, good, evil, lying, cheat, all of these things would be really neat conversation to have with
I
somebody
agree.
that's in the field.
I agree. Larry Sagari, who is on with me on Friday, Let Us Reason Together. We've had him on the show in that capacity before, and him and his wife were on when we did Newscasting Ancient Times with us also.
Yeah.
But Larry was a teacher in middle school for many, many years, but also in Catholic school. And you, just the thought of that in itself is challenging too. I mean, Catholic.
Yeah, Catholic school. Brenda's told me how much things have just changed, even though in the last few years
I'll
things are
bet.
just
I'll bet.
completely different in the school system. So, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Who
All
would go ahead?
different areas, all the different areas that there are, and the different dynamics of how you have to be righteous in those areas, being righteous in an unrighteous world. There you
Right,
go. There you go.
being righteous among unrighteous people.
Yeah.
I mean, we could take that. I mean, the world is the big picture, but then when you bring it down, being righteous in an unrighteous workplace, you could go all sorts of ways with that and make it a smaller. It can be broad and it can be small.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Wow.
imagine.
Who
It's
would have thought we would have gone down this path today?
Oh, we never know. Last week we did the same thing and
Yeah.
didn't plan on it, but it's it because it's because we have the gift of gab, Sandy. That's
You know what? I'm not John's, of the two of us, John's the talker. But unless you get on spiritual things, if
uh-huh,
you're on something spiritual with me,
uh-huh.
then my voice is there. If it's on other things, John can talk about anything, anywhere, anytime. He's the one that he wants to talk, talk, talk. I talk with you, Mark. And because I talk with you on this show, I talk with everyone.
Uh-huh. There you go. That's right. That's right. Well, we were even just talking about that yesterday. I got interviewed for from Our House Years, which will air this Sunday night, by the way, at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we were talking about that is that that's always one of my big deals on getting people into Lamb is have the gift of gab. You got and that's why I love discussion shows. And this is a discussion show. You even though it's just you and me, it's
We're
still a
discussing.
discussion. But I love it to have 10 people in it all in the same studio and you come up with a topic and everybody shares because I want to hear what righteous people have to say about different subjects. But most of the people that you and I know do have the gift of gab, and you give them any topic and they can just go on for an hour about whatever topic it is. But lying and living righteously in an unrighteous world is a huge topic. A lot of different perspectives from a lot of different people. But what do we got? Like 6-7 minutes
Yeah, about
here. Pretty soon we'll have a new outro that will have all kinds of things. You haven't seen the new outros I'm working on yet, have you? But yeah, they're going to be good. probably next week or the week after, we'll have a new outro that is it's pretty cool. I like them, and we're doing it for every show. Uh, we were going to talk about the movie. Do we need more than 6 or 7 minutes to
I
talk
think
about
so. I
that?
think
We
so.
do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we
We
see.
need more for the other. We need more for
Oh,
the other thing too.
oh, I'll tell you because I don't think you've seen it, and I want you to go see it. We saw Civil War
Was
a
it good?
couple of days ago. I'm I'm a little iffy on it. Yeah, it's good if you don't go expecting, then it's good. Uh, I have to give a warning straight out that there are some times in this movie that are and I watch a lot of action movies. I watch a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things. People get blown up and shot and everything. And there were a couple of times in this movie that even I got shot.
See, I don't like to see that stuff. I don't. I mean, I
Well,
know it's real. I know it's out there, but I don't like to see it.
well, this is not real. It's somebody's depiction
I
of
know, but
what they
I
think
know
it
that
is.
kind of stuff
Yeah,
really does happen.
yeah. I
But
get
I
it.
haven't. I don't like to watch violence.
I understand. That's why I'm
Or
giving the
violence.
warning out there of it. But the movie, for the most part, the movie is not action packed at all.
Oh, it's not good.
It's not. The story's really about uh, um, newscasters, people that go out into
You
the
mean actors?
reporters, the what actors?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Most
I know,
newscasters
I
are
know.
just
These
actors reading the
these
same
these are
line.
more photographers that
Oh,
go
okay.
out and get war pictures and
War
stuff.
footage.
Yeah, and so the number one complaint about this movie across the board, critics and me and everybody else I've talked to, uh, is that there is no beginning and there is no end to this movie.
Oh,
They never explain who the two different sides that are at war. They never explain that. Right at the beginning of the movie, the only thing they actually talk about is that Texas and California have seceded from the Union. And Florida is trying to work with the Carolinas to also kind of do something, but they can't get it together. And so that's all you know. And the biggest thing is that people are mad because they've seceded from the Union. And the reason is because the president of the United States have done away with the Constitution, and he is now in his third term as being president and has set forth different standards in the United States. So they pulled away and they're now against that. My problem with it is that because you and I have been doing shows since beginning of 2017, and in January of 2017 is when Trump took office, and I have been saying from those shows that this country is in a civil war, and verbally in the way people think in the red and blue states, we have been in a civil war kind of basically, and it builds to being as black and white as it is. But I don't see how you can secede from the United States and take military action against the country that has the biggest military force on the planet. And I don't understand that. I don't think that can happen. I don't know because I don't know enough of the background. But you're smiling like you
well,
do.
I'm a Texan,
Yeah, I
and
know you are.
so
I know. I thought about that.
talks of secession are part of Texas culture, especially with as things become more evil and the Constitution's done away with more and more. You know, if that kind of thing was in, I would hope we would have seceded. And no, how do you go against this army? I don't know, but we are told in our founding documents that if tyranny rises up, I'm paraphrasing here, and dictatorship rises, all these things rise up, and people are going against the word, against the Constitution, et cetera, we are people are supposed to rise up and remove them from power. And if you can't do that, I mean, we have it in our Constitution that we can walk away. The Texas, we can do that. And I can't imagine California, because California is its own country, but
they do kind of explain that, because we thought the same thing. They're the most liberal stinking state in the whole union, but it's the simple fact that they do stand for the Constitution. And when you take the Constitution out of it, it was Texas and California that rose up and said, absolutely not. In fact, that's the way I understood.
I would wish that more of the states would say absolutely not. Yeah. Oklahoma, right. Florida, right. I would hope more would say no. I mean, it's all fictional right now, but the talk of secession in the state of Texas is a very real discussion because of the corruption. Yeah. And I don't want to be part of corruption, because corruption will fall. Now, the rest of it, the logistics, all of that, I don't know any of that stuff. I can't answer all of that, but I do know my heart hurts at evil. Right. And when beasts are ruling, everything is messed up, and beasts are ruling. So.
Well, in this movie, you can't tell which side is which. It's just two sides at war with each other, and you can't tell what it is. Anyway, so that's the new movie. See it if you want. Don't see it if you want. It's no big deal. I'm not recommending it. It was kind of fun to watch just as a movie, but not putting anything into it. So anyway, all right, Sandy, we did it.
We did it.
We did it. We stayed true to it. So all right, and hopefully we'll be back next week. I don't know any reason why we shouldn't. So once again, if you want to watch it again or tell somebody about it or whatever, then go to lambnetwork.tv and go to the on-demand section, where you'll find all of our live shows in the on-demand section, so you can watch them as many times. Binge watch them. Just binge watch every show. Just go through. They're all good, no matter what. So anyway, God bless everybody, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right. Shalom.
All right.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.